Díomh a chuirde tá fáilteómh go dtí an tullach I gunta an chlár Tásúla gom go bhfuil se bheith dá na sláinte agus maidin seo an 7ú rang inis, rang bio tá a dhéine goin. This is our 7th class that has been delivered live so far agus inniu be mi ag dúisteach chórsaí Ginideach. We'll be taking a look at some grammar issues, especially the one that no one really ever wants to talk about on Tuiseal Ginideach agus súladí be me now carú live I ré an cheachta seo. So I suppose the question is, cén fá an Tuiseal Ginideach ag an buinte seo? Why the Tuiseal Ginideach? Well, to me, mar bhfuil tuiscint agat faoin hábhacht on Ginideach. If you don't have an understanding about the importance of grammar, Inchgina, na Tuiseal, na Declensions, you are completely, I suppose, you're held hostage to your lack of knowledge because you can't improve your grade unless your crinus improves. And I'm going to start immediately with some student examples of, where crinus made a bit of a mess of the thing, or aspect crinus, should I say, a lack of accuracy made a mess of the work, and which is such a pity because in so many cases you know all the vocabulary, you know all the different bits and pieces, but putting it together is a problem. And Shinnon Rud Atomic Geary sort fiaus a chur más féidir inniu. So no umpranona. So again, reached, if you want the notes, they're at the bottom. Click on the link courses.leavingcertirish.com. All the notes for all these are uploaded every day at 11 o'clock. So you can click on that and buy it, and it's €50 for all the notes, every single thing we do, not just what we do in the live sessions, everything. You get everything for the €50 fee, or you can pay €15 a month for 4 months, whichever is most appropriate for you. And hopefully, I know there are people in that course who are getting great benefit from it, people who weren't in it prior to, let's say, a week ago, and I'm getting some great feedback on that. So hopefully today you'll learn something significant. Agus ríis má tá ceistne agah, seolgi isteach tá chat agin. So a leid má tá ein ceist agat, seolgi isteach tríd an chat sin. Okay? Agus okay. This more got a healer Martin Cunnus too. So let me write leis an gach fin. Hopefully we'll be finished. There's a lot to get through here now, guys. This is not I'll be going as fast as I can. There's a lot to get through. You'll need to watch back this. And the idea of going live with this is so that you can ask questions as I do the stuff, because that's the really key bit here, that we can actually engage with one another. So now be druggle, or if don't be in any way shy or reluctant about asking questions. Fine overshot, no butter and overshot. Alright, Lynn, so an cap féin. Mastering the Tuiseal Ginideach, céim fá go bhfuil sé seo tábhachtach. Okay. So má ecinn sibh an sampla seo. So seo sampla ó ghalta cúpla bliain ó hin, ní cuineann Ginideach. Cén daltaí bhí gceist, ach seo sampla a thóg mé, nó rangnig mé don rang inniu. Agus an fág bhfuil an sampla seo tábhachtach ná tá go leor rudí maithe a dhéine ag an dalta seo, ach tá sort botú in ann sort a litan on rud ar bhealach, that so there are mistakes in it that kind of destroy it in a way for me, but there are very significant mistakes that I want you to focus on. Alright, so I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see it just a little bit better on the screen, just in case anyone can't see it fully. Okay, so let me just get that right. Okay, so that's a little bit bigger on your screen, hopefully. So let's just go through it for a second. And I'm going to have a red pen here. And what I want you to see is the following. So, is tír álín I éire. Lovely. Ach ní féidir a héine, can't deny, gwil alone fiben a ke fuilar. Can't deny that she or it has a lot of problems right now. Fiben and ruggy. Curúlachta. Fiben a diosdiachta. Marta, it should be, agus 5 on Gallagher. Okay, so far, nothing really significant, right? We should have Diastiachta here, which means there's a Tisha Ginideach incorrect. But the main thing I want you to see is the next bit. Eran Gade Dulcius on Willemi Quinta Gwil on Aib Shaw Imaha Dorira. Tá sé solir don dawl nach bhfuil an cúlú ach na míochta hart chur be. An drochúr is ónlomará gúil dína fós in ísle brí agus fargach leis an rialtas. I mean an scale riamh difriúil. Okay? Now, come let's get. So, what I hope you see is the mistakes in here are relatively minor. But as a céad alt, as a first paragraph, this is not impressing me. And on chéad alt, no matter how you go about it, on chéad alt, is she on chéad alt, or she on chéad alt, on ceann is tábhachtaí. The most important paragraph is always the first. And if you've got little mistakes like this, straight away, you're not impressing, because there are people who will have it fuirfa, perfect. Now, the main issue I have here is around the Sheena Fada, and many of you just don't use them anymore. But what we've got to look at is how can you improve your accuracy? The first thing you can do is look at the Sheena Fada, and that's nothing to do with the Tisha Ginideach. I always say, there's a kind of a simple way of looking at this. If I just give you this example, if you had de on buchel, or sorry, well, not de on buchel, de on bo, go back, de on bo, the cow ate on fair, the cow ate the grass. That's good. But if I have de on bo on far, it means something else. It means the cow ate the man. So pretty different meanings. And it's all about the Sheena Fada. If you haven't got an understanding of that at this point, you need to, very quickly. You should be using the Fada. So that's that point made. But then, and there was only one instance here really where there was a big issue around the Tisha Ginideach. Let's look at the next one. Okay, now this might be a little bit harder to read, but it was a very good example of what I'm trying to get at here. So, ish a on I. First of all, gender. Inchkinen, we'll be looking at it in a minute. So, straight away, this is an issue because the word five is feminine. Therefore, that should be E and there should therefore be a H. So, ishi on Ib vor ella. And even the syntax of that is wrong. Five vor ella atá an, or atá satir seo ná is how it should read. A lanín dina, again, verbs we were talking about them yesterday, egg, cost, alcohol, right? Not working at all. No, an cúlú ach na míochta, and the spelling all wrong here. If anyone knows their quail lahan, they know there's an issue here. An cé cudella being alone dina fui vrú, after fui should have H, just for Slot on Newvan, agus being cúpla joch. Now, what did I say yesterday about cúpla, guys? I was giving you an absolutely critical piece of information yesterday, talking about the importance of cúpla and on iver ulra in ye cúpla. So we should always have the singular after couple, isn't that right? So a cúpla joch. Aco con ligintaski con skilling. Kumala sho bin dina gaffa da argas ni federlo dolamak con olas fanin sheets of value. Okay, fine, few issues. Is he'd fawn on and sheets value no. Gagashid fileha lani. Now this is what I want to highlight. Okay. Spelling file is wrong. But this is a classic case that someone should know the Tisha Ginideach correctly. Fileha linav or filey linav all is what the person wants to say, to get a childminder. Tá na shopi eshkedunish. So again, two nouns together, all done wrong. Ser agus tá cosk chahabh tabak sna teach lana Snitted Harvana is what you should have been saying there. Keelan Shisho Cart, you get away with beer halls or beer houses, but it's not what you want. Galore knock Geelan after knock needing the G. Akasolo Marag will Fibana le Shaw freshen. Being an Umrka le Ol. And this is a classic case where the person simply didn't know how to construct the Tisha Ginideach on Umrka le Ol. Okay, being an Umrka Olachan or Shul Edina Marshaw. Martashi Sawaya, Neil Trinta Cog being Rovade Trulu, and again just didn't know how to put the Tisha Ginideach together. On Umrka Trula should be the had Temple on T, thankfully, which is good. August Niveen, the course in Rohosta Mariauler Shin. So here what I have, guys, in one paragraph, a student who clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times could not construct the sentence or the phrase appropriately because they did not know how to put the Tisha Ginideach Ivaim. They didn't know how to put it into effect, simple as, and the end result is you end up with a bit of a dog's dinner, and it's not good, and it's not H1, it's not H2, it's not H3, it might be H4 if it was maybe spelt a little bit better in places, but clearly the person has phrases, but they're not accurate phrases, and they don't know how to go back and check it, and this is an issue, right? This is an issue. Now, by the way, this particular one I remember was from a student who was in 5th year trying to do their Ashta Capadort for the first time, and actually this student actually went on and got an A2. It was a student that I'd been helping and got an A2. So this was somebody who had a lot of issues early on, but you might kind of recognize the same issues, and if you do, you need to kind of keep watching on here because we got to get this sorted. All right, so let's get into the main thing then, right? I suppose the essence of this particular lesson is we need to be able to put phrases, a simple phrase, together. So something like the girl's book, Laura and Colleen, with a H. So I'll just highlight the changes here for a second while we're at it. There's a H in here, the girl's book. Roher na Mano. It isn't the word ban, it's not in there at all. Chak an Taggart with TS. Leader of the army, okay, AIRM. Canna Anon remains as on. Sorry, that's not heel to shoe. It should be shoelace. Il na Broiga is the shoelace or shoe strap. The farmer's hat, Skubol, and that's not a hat either. I don't know. I'm after putting the wrong thing in here, guys. Sorry. Skubol is a barn, so it should be farmer's barn or shed. Okay. The man shop in there, and again, it's not far or anything like that. And the men's hats, Hati Navarno. What the hell is that about? That's what we call La Gulra. So they're just simple phrases. If you couldn't do all them right now, you need to keep watching this lesson because at the end of it, hopefully we'll be able to do it. I never did a sound check, guys. Just very quickly, Gahan Skippy. And we'll gachten and on Gacro the Clushtal. Is everyone able to hear everything? Suladia Ta Gacro Kerkalor. Hopefully everything is all right. Just send in a little chat there, guys. Let me know that we're going okay. All right. So, Kate Quidella. Firinch Ganuk Agus Buinch Ganuk Sagwega. So, you've got a very simple concept, but it exists in many languages. Masculine and feminine in the Irish language. Gurmagat Avali, Intok Ahira, Gurmaguv. Onfar, Onvan. Now, at the end of yesterday's lesson, I mentioned it just happens to be coincidental that the physical being of a man and the physical being of a woman are masculine and feminine as words in terms of gender in the language. The word Colleen, as I pointed out yesterday, is actually a masculine word. Okay? So that should immediately remove any temptation to go with the idea that, well, because something's masculine or feminine in actual life, in real life, then their word in Irish is masculine feminine. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so Firinch Ganuk, Buinch Ganuk, masculine feminine. First two key terms. All right, let's crack on with this. The first major resource that I'm going to point you towards today, right, and Cade sort Fuinche Olish, no Tubber Olish, or well of knowledge, is Changlan.ie. Changlan.ie. I would say that this is the best single Irish language resource that's out there. And the reason is you've got your Folklore Gaeilge Béarla, you also have your English Irish Dictionary, there's a Grammaduch section, and there's a Fáraíoch section for pronunciation. So if you haven't used this before, you're really missing out, and it's going to be absolutely essential as part of what we're going to do now. First of all, Firinchkina, if you look up the word Doris, you're going to get something like this. It is masculine. It's genitive singular. The G is always the Ginideach bit, right? So that's the Ginideach. When you see that, is AIS. So in other words, where the AS was there, it now has an I. Its plural, very simply, is Dorsha. Now, if it only says one version of plural and not GPL, that means the plural, whether it's Ginideach or Tuiseal Amnach, is all the same. I'll be going back to the Tuiseal Ginideach thing in a minute, by the way. Okay, so Doris T, for example, is a doorway. But if you want to say a guscailt on Dorish, it'd be AIS. But we'll, as I say, explain all that a little bit more. But the main thing is masculine, genitive singular, plural. They're simple examples. Another example, masculine, etalon, genitive singular, and noun or nominative plural is oin. So the plural of it, nominative plural, is just etalon with an I. Its genitive singular is, again, an I goes in there. Its genitive plural, right? And this is an important phrase now. Its genitive plural is a tilde, which means it's the same. So its plural in the Tuiseal Ginideach would still be its Tuiseal Anamnach singular. So that means if you want to say the owner of the plains, right? It'd be Unair na Netalon. Very same spelling. And that is what we call in Irish a lagulra, a weak plural, where its nominative plural or genitive plural returns to its nominative singular version. Okay? A lagulra is a weak plural. So if you see that tilde sign after, and this is the crucial bit, after genitive plural, and that's why the dictionary is so important, you're able to go and figure these things out for yourself. That's what we call lagulra. It's not wrong. It is something that does exist in the language. Okay? All right, Kate Quidella. So look at Firinchkina. All right? Again, ground, humour. It's masculine. And a simple example here. Sorry, I need the red there. Simple example is, you all know the term for a clown is a far green. Okay, so one of the most common changes we have is EA goes to I. That's one of the most common changes and is an easy one for all of you to kind of capture and understand today. So far green is a clown. The next one, Muntor. You all know Muntor. So masculine, genitive singular is ora, right? So EOIR in this case becomes EORA. So, for example, board on Vuntora. And that would be the teacher's desk. Or desk on Vuntora if you want to go with that. So, teacher's table, board on Vuntora. EOIR goes to EORA. The plural, whether it's Tuiseal Ginideach or Tuiseal Amnach, will be Ifada. Right? Now I'm using phrases there like Tuiseal Amnach, Tuiseal Ginideach, which you may not get right now, but by the end of this you will when we've gone through everything. I'm just running through examples here from the dictionary to show you this information is there and is easy to work with. Right, Buinintchkinach then is again a feminine one. So Bringload, a dream, right? It's feminine. Its genitive singular requires an E, which you're going to begin to understand very, very quickly now in a few minutes. So Bringloads is a dream, but Bringloide would be the Tuiseal Ginideach of it. The plural is simply an ifada, so it's Tuiseal Ginideach or Tuiseal Amnach. You would say Bringloadi, tá Bringloadiige, he has dreams, right? Or V Bringloadiige, he had dreams. Right, next one. Another example of feminine, Cohramíochts, A-I-Fada-O-C-H-T. Genitive singular is just the tilde A, which means you add an A to the end of it. Okay, sorry, don't want to mess this up. Cothramíocht. Yeah. So Cothramíocht da would be the Tuiseal Ginideach of it. Next one, another example, Fuinchog, the EOG, Fuinchoige, so ash, right? It's feminine, and it'd be Fuinchoige would be the Tuiseal Ginideach. It'd be just you add an I and an E, you slender it and add an E. Okay. The next one, Síocháin. So this is one you should all know. The Gardaí Síochána, the Guardians of Peace. So genitive singular, there's just one version of it, is Síochána. We don't say the pieces as in English, so it doesn't exist. So there's only one verse you can have here, it's genitive singular. Okay. Now, they're just examples from the dictionary about gender and showing you that sa folklore tá na nachana sin go léir ar fáil. Every single phrase you need. Tá an Tuiseal Ginideach, lagan an Tuiseal Ginideach, tá an lagan an Tuiseal Amnig, tá si go léir an. Everything is there that you need. But you need to understand something else before you get moving at all. And a very simple idea, an talt sa Gaeilge, an alt, you would all know it means a paragraph, but it also means the definite article. Okay? So the definite article in Irish is an extremely important thing to know about. Cén fá? Well, if you get it wrong, you will never be able to decide is it an or na that goes before something when it comes to using a noun and the definite article. So my job today is make sure that you understand this at the end of it. Níl in als éigeanta sa Gaeilge. So we do not have an indefinite article in Irish. So what's the definite article? The definite article is simply the. Okay? But in Irish, we do not have a version of a. And just think about this for a second. There was a man in the shop. Bhí fear sa siopa. Sorry, went back on there. Bhí fear sa siopa. So bhí fear sa siopa. There was a man in the shop. Dead easy to understand. Bhí an fear sa siopa. The man was in the shop. As you can see, we don't have an extra word for something like a man. So fear becomes an fear. It's not on. I'm just running through some phrases here. It's not on ar. It's always on fear. These are all masculine. Imid becomes on timed. The T hyphens. So T hyphens before vowels mátá siad ferinchganach. Amadán. Again, T hyphen. It's not on Amadán. I'm sure. Whether. It is on I'm sure. With no T hyphen. Why? If you look up I'm sure, you will see that it is buinchganach. So it is feminine. Again, ish, buinchganach, it is on ish. So the rules reverse is what happens here, guys, right? The rules reverse. Bach, B becomes on vach. It requires a H. Same as ban becomes on van. Bach, B becomes on vach. So the rule is essentially a reversal between masculine and feminine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you through a whole series of examples now of specific nouns, phrases that you should hopefully be aware of or know of, and the idea being that you will understand how the rules are applied. So let's first of all look at urdog. I'll start with a feminine one, right? Urdog, top of the thumb. All right. So what would top of the thumb be? And I'm going to get you to try and write in the answers here, and I'm going to return to some of them. So if you could write down, please, what these are, that would be a big assistance, because you'll actually be learning, you'll be active. You can write into the text as well if you have it figured out. So if someone said to you right now, top of the thumb in Irish, and they gave you the word urdog, and bor is top, well, then what would that be? And you'd have to ask yourself the question, if you can't put something as simple as that together, and you know it's a feminine noun, if you can't put something like that together, what would your ability be to, I suppose, be flexible on the day of the exam and maybe have to change information slightly. And again, identify where you should have this accurate. So, top of the thumb, what would this be? And Sheila has it there, bar na her doige. Very good. So, it is the top of the thumb, bar na her doige. Why is it that? Well, if it's feminine, on will always change to na. Okay, so this is the single most important thing to know. There is only one situation in the Irish language where on changes to na in the singular, iver uha. And it is where you have a feminine noun, Tuiseal Ginideach, and you need to include the use of the definite article, right? So feminine noun, Tuiseal Ginideach, where you need to use on, it will change always to na. Always goes to na, right? Always goes to na. It's an absolute certainty. It is not a plural. It is simply the definite article needs to change. The second thing that's happening here is if the noun you're talking about begins with a vowel, you always put in a H after the na. So it'll either be na followed by whatever the consonant is, or it'll be na followed by a H. You know, if it begins with a vowel, it will always be followed by a H. Now, here's the beauty of doing this. I'll be talking about Keshe tomorrow. Question 6a, the Leavingcertirish, we'll be taking a look at tomorrow. But if you are in a situation where you are trying to identify Anamukal, Tuiseal Ginideach, Iver Uha, Atá Buinninch Ginideach. So noun in the Tuiseal Ginideach singular, that is feminine. It's the easiest thing in the world to identify because there is nowhere else in the language that you have this conjugation, if you like, or this composition where you have na and a H before a vowel. It's a straight dead giveaway that is a feminine noun, the Tuiseal Ginideach singular. And forevermore you'll be able to answer those 6a questions and not be worried about getting around, because this is Tuiseal Ginideach, Buinninch Ginideach, San Iver Uha. Simple as, every single time. You can never go wrong with it. Alright? Máthain Keshe, by the way, guys. If you have any questions, send them on in here, okay? The next one, Aurclan, a theatre. Okay, so what would a theatre be? It's an Aurclan. I want you to write down what is centre of the theatre. If centre is lore, and we've just gone through an example with feminine noun, what then would the centre of the theatre be, or centre of the theatre be? Oscuelga. So on Aurclan, the theatre, centre of the theatre, what would that be? And if you could write it in to your copy and just see, have you got it right? And if you have one, you can type one in as well. If you have Mátá Fragra Gut. Now I won't go through every single one of these. I'll just do 2 or 3 to begin with to see are we getting some of this concept. So Shogistachid, Satakes, Mosmin Liv, you can send them in there in the text. And we'll see what we're getting. Okay, so at this point, Fan Gavekme, I'll just wait for one, see if we got this. And we'll check again. Has anyone got it? Just Tom McFanacht on Vragra Shop, just waiting on this answer. Now, very close, very, very close. Kate Mahu, good attempt. There's a bit, and I'm actually glad it came up as that, because there's a bit at the end here that's essential, right? So I'm going to talk you through this one very specifically so that we understand what this is or what's going on here. There are some essential steps to Kémena Fíorthábhacha, right? Extremely, very good. You're nearly there, right? You're nearly there. Now, good. So let me just give you the answer. Let's go through it here and see, can we get it, guys, right? Or see, can we understand it? It's Lár na Harclana. So here's the thing about the Tuiseal Ginideach in this instance, where you're trying to put 2 nouns together with on in the middle of them, okay? So very simply, there are 4 steps in the case of feminine noun and 3 steps in the case of masculine noun. Step number 1, does on remain as on or does on go to na? In the case of feminine noun, on goes to na. Second thing, if it doesn't have something at the beginning, it normally requires something in the Tuiseal Ginideach, and if it normally does have something, it gets dropped. So on Aurclan, it didn't have anything, it's going to gain something. So now, Lord and Aurclan, now what happens to the first word? Third step is, does it need to be slendered, right? On Quaelitere, is it slenderized? Is it something that requires an I effectively? And finally, on Cahu Kemasha, does it need something at the end of the word? So in every instance of the Tuiseal Ginideach, you're definitely going to be doing step 1, step 2, and step 3. And particularly with the feminine nouns, you're going to be looking at came a car, Sadar Declension, what we call second declension. I'm not doing the declensions today. That's going to be another lesson, guys. But do we understand what a Declension is? If I use that word Declension, right? Do we actually know what the hell that word is about? Do we even know what a Tuiseal is another question, right? Do we even know what a Tuiseal is? Declension, Tuiseal, have we any idea? Or are we just playing guesswork here the whole time? Because he's Keenta, which I thought of Ginideach na Nahana, don Cheshe A. It's one of the reasons I'm doing the 6A question tomorrow. You've got to understand some of the terminology. You simply can't answer those questions. So Declension, Cerdita get. What are we talking about? A Declension, a Tuiseal Ginideach, Tuiseal Amnach, Tuiseal Torach. All just complete gobbledygook unless you have some knowledge of them. And for the purposes of what we're doing, we've got to try and get it. Okay, so Declension, let me explain then, is a declension. Okay, and a declension is essentially a gathering of words with similar properties. Okay, a Tuiseal is effectively a situation, right, with words. Okay, so it's simply a situation where words are placed in that situation, right? And that to me is the easiest way to remember both of them. A declension is a grouping, and a Tuiseal is simply a situation of words that may be in that group. So when people talk about Tuiseal Ginideach, Dar Declension, Josh, that's a great question. I hope everyone sees that. Are there any obvious rules or giveaways to indicate whether a noun is masculine or feminine? There are, absolutely, Josh. There's a whole heap of them. And my job is to really try and open your eyes today to those possibilities. And once I've run through a few of these, I'm going to go back and you'll begin to see, hold on, there's a common pattern here. So if I can do that now, in a moment, I will. I'll come back to this question. It's a great question, Josh, and I'm glad you asked it. Because other people are asking that question right now. They're saying, hold on one second, you're talking about masculine, feminine, but I won't have a dictionary. How am I going to know? Well, let me tell you, there are a whole list of them. Words you know that will help you to identify this. And particularly the feminine ones, believe it or not, they're actually really easy in some cases to look at. All right, let me write. Ifagach, the officer's hat. So I'm not going to wait for the answers in every instance here now. I want to rattle on if I can. Ifagach, the officer's hat. On Tifagach, it's masculine. It requires a T hyphen before a vowel in its Tuiseal Anamnach. But in Tuiseal Ginideach, what's the step? On remains as on if it's masculine. It had something, so it lost it. And the ending changes from EACH to IGH. Okay, so 3 steps for masculine. Normally, there can be 4, but essentially there's going to be 3. In the bird, ontain, it's masculine. Ontain, the bird, it has something normally. Tuiseal Ginideach, ontain, first thing, on remains as on. That's step 1. Second thing is it dropped the T hyphen. And the third thing was E father A went to E father I. And this again is a standard change. We've already had EA going to I. Now you have a second standard change. E father A goes to E father I. Okay, I'm going to keep rattling on here, guys. I say Asel, masculine. An tassel, the donkey, masculine, requires a T hyphen, Tuiseal. Anamnuk, what's it going to be? Da an asel, the colour of the donkey. So, ivra hain, then I've separated this one out so you could see it clearly. Ivra do, we've lost the T hyphen. That's gone. It's taken out. And ivra tree, third step, we slender it out. Ends in AL. Nearly always going to be slendered out. To just add in an I. Ought. Now this is feminine. It doesn't normally have something before it. Right? But it's feminine. So what's going to be the impact? Straight up, ought doesn't have something normally. The first question is on Gamaleshke. Uner na hoite is the owner of the place. On goes to na. Second thing, it requires the H, if you remember from earlier. Third thing, it's already slendered out. There's an I in there. We can't slender it any further. And ivra kahar, we add E. So in this case, there was 3 actual steps. This one, I suppose, was done for you. So if you're adding on an E, you need to slender it. So that's the bottom line there. Next one, im, taste of the butter. Now, im is what we call an eshgot. Tims. I refer to this as chach, im, and shliv. Now, if you can remember this, guys, it's important because I know people are going to come back at some point and ask questions as to why shliv is in what we call an dardia cleanup. But first of all, think of it like this: T, I, M, S. I refer to it as Tims. Chach, im, and shliv are all masculine nouns, but they are in the second declension. Okay, so their changes happen according to rules associated with the second declension, which are, situations with words. If it needs an E, Chloe, an E is required if it's feminine in the second declension, except for, in particular, im and shliv. They're in the first declension. They'll need an E because, they're in the second declension, but they are actually masculine, right? So chach, im, and shliv, we need to be very, very careful with these, right? So chach, im, and shliv are Tims. They're exceptions. We'll be coming back to them, right? So on Tim, the butter, and it's blas on ima, right? So step number 1. Step number 2, drop the T hyphen. Step number 3, add in the E because of its declension. Chach, im, and shliv, blas on ima. Next one, hospital, hospital, ends in E fada al, on hospital. So can I go back to Josh's question, because this is a great example. Josh's question was, how do you know that something is in a particular declension? How do you know whether it's masculine or feminine, right? So that's the first part of it. Is it masculine or feminine? Straight away, Josh, I'll tell you the endings E fada al are masculine endings for the most part, right? So anything that ends in E fada al is going to be masculine. And its change is that E fada A will go to E fada I. So you will see it's always going to change in Tuiseal Ginideach singular E fada al, right? So if you look at how that works out, it's fuinog on remains as on because it's masculine. The T hyphen, step number 2 is gone, right? Step number 3 is the E fada A needs to change to E fada I, and there you go, fuinog an hospital. Next one, fuinog itself. Now here is a great example, the best examples you can get of a feminine noun ending. Back to Josh's question, how do you know if it's feminine or masculine? Anything that's EOG or O fada G is feminine every time. So how's that going to play out? A guscult on needs to go to na because it's feminine. It has a H normally on inog, so you drop the H. So if you remember with the vowels or dog, it becomes na her dog, but what we actually do is we lose something, right? With the feminine ones beginning with a consonant, you lose something. So, egoscult na fuinoige, you need to slender it, third step, and you need to add an E, fourth step, because it's the second declension. So, let me just go back a step here for a second. All of these, O for the G's, EOGs are in the second declension. All of them, right? Every single noun in the second declension is feminine. Right, every single noun. Sorry, can I just correct one thing there? Just I'm after thinking of it there when I was talking about Tim's. Sorry, Chokium and Schlieve are in the first declension. I think I might have said second while I was doing it. They're in the first declension, but they have second declension properties, right? So they are in the first declension, but they have second declension properties. I just thought about that there as I was doing it. Fuinog. So egoscult na fuinoige, right? Now, if I had asked you all to write in opening the window before we had done another thing today, I'd be curious to know what you would have written down, because it's an interesting one. Can I give you all a little exercise just right into the text? So we've 60 people watching this right now. Can everyone, little social experiment here, guys, now. Can everyone please write in what you believe the following phrase is? Okay, so let me just add in a simple little bit of text here, right? What would be the men's hats? Okay. So, not sure what's going on here. That should be getting a bit bigger. I don't know, can you see that or not, guys? That's a bad way to do it, Johnny. We'll get rid of that. That's not the way to do it live. Not what I wanted on. Get rid of that. I'll just write it in big, bad, bold writing here. The men's hats in Irish. Can you write in, please, what you believe the men's hats in Irish is? I always do this with my own students. And if any of them are here, I don't want you to write it in. So the men's hats in Irish. What is that? Social experiment. We've got a lot of people here. Social proof of what the issue is. Very interesting. Okay. Hata Anir. And we have a winner in there somewhere. Right, so I'm going to let you keep going. Very good. Keep writing in what you think it is. I'm just reading them as they are. Very good. Very good. Interesting to see, or you can all see that there are different versions. There's one I don't see there yet. Hati Anar, good. Hati Anir, right? We've a few different ones coming in all the time. So we've got Hata Anir, Hati Navar, Hati Anir, Hata Anvar, Hati Nair, Hati Anar, and there's one I don't see there yet, Hati Nafir without a H. Very often people write in. There's probably a few more versions we could get, but I suppose the point is, Tigashib Gilair, we've all got different ideas about what it is. Alright, so let me just write up what the actual answer is. So, we talk about syntax. Irish is reverse syntax in most cases. So, here you've got the word the word the comes first. Men's second, hats third. In Irish, the order will be 3, 1 and 2. So we were talking about Corair the other day, and it should therefore be hati na, because it's plural, is going to remain as is, and believe it or not, because it's Tisha Ginideach plural, it's hati navar. So whoever had hati navar, Mashiv, you were right. The instinctive answer would be to put in something with fir, and that's why quite a lot of people have that. So fir would be Trumlach Nanina Sachosha. The word far, if we look it up in the dictionary, it's what we call a lagulra. I mentioned it earlier. It's a weak plural, so that means it reverts to its Tuiseal format. So hati navar, believe it or not, that's what it is. All right, anyone's ever done any classes with me would know what that is. Very quickly then, on chlus with a H, it's feminine. Skin of the ear is kraken, na, klusha, 1, 2. It's slender already, so we don't need to do it. And you add an E, 4, right? UAS, always going to be feminine. So here basically, guys, is a summary of what we've been looking at. If you have in the Tuiseal anamnach, which means the nominative case, so normal situation words, right? We're talking about tá and fear sa siopa, right? There's no connection between the shop and the man, right? If it was the men's shop, it'd be siopa navar, right? So think about that. But in the nominative and what we call Tuiseal cusborg, in the objective case, where you're using a consonant after on, right? If it's masculine, so this side here, the blue is masculine and the pink is feminine. Sorry if that's a bit stereotypical, don't want to be that way, but it just makes it easier. This table will make life so much easier for you before we get into the Tuiseal Ginideach complications. So a consonant, if it's masculine, there's nothing, right? There's nothing that goes before it. On, far is your example, right? If it begins with a vowel, right, just so you know, that's a vowel. If it begins with a vowel, such as A, E, I, O, U, that's what we're dealing with. And we'll have a T hyphen before it. So on tassel, as an example, the donkey. If it begins with a consonant and it's feminine, it gets a H on the first letter or after the first letter. So on van. And if it begins with a vowel, again, A, E, I, O, U, something like weather, on I'm sure. It has nothing before it. So you can see that it has nothing before it. You have a H if it's feminine, T hyphen, and nothing. We've gone through the 4 basic rules. Is this helpful, guys? Are you beginning to just give me some feedback here? Is this hitting the kind of notes that you were hoping to hit in terms of dealing with this? I'm trying to open your eyes to what is beneath the language a little bit. Because first of all, you need to understand examples of Tuiseal Ginideach. Then you need to go back and say, right, well, what about this definite article in a normal situation? Then you need to look at the definite article in the Tuiseal Ginideach situation, because that's the first change. That's the first step. That's the first thing on Céad a bheith á dhéanamh agat. So once we understand that, right, let's go to the next bit, right? In the Tuiseal Ginideach, effectively, if you look at this first table here and then look at the second table, you would see there is almost a role reversal. Yeah, I get the point about it's hard to know which is masculine and feminine, but let me just make the iPad a bit bigger here on your screen as well. I get the whole thing about it's hard to know the masculine and feminine, but it's very, very, very important to work on that. And there's going to be times when you won't know. Would you believe, guys, I'm teaching for years. I use my dictionary every single day to double check inchgana, to double check gender. All right. Is the one for S2. Yes, there's a rule around S as well. Now, in order to keep things simple today, Kate, I do not want to complicate it with S. Is there like a chevu for S, I suppose is the question. No. It is a T for S, but I don't want to get into that right now, or we'll really be in trouble. So for the Tuiseal Ginideach, this is really now beginning to move things forward. If you think about it, where something didn't exist with a masculine, okay, where it didn't have something on it, so on far, in the Tuiseal Ginideach, it becomes on ear. Now, forget about the I bit. What we're interested in is the H. If it's, again, we'll go with a vowel, it becomes on asil, to take the examples we were starting with. So there's nothing before it if it's in the Tuiseal Ginideach singular with a vowel. We had the word ban, right, for consonant Now it's going to become, on will change to na always, but na mano. Now it's maybe not a great example to take because you can't put a H on the end there. Well, you could put a H on an M, but in this case, there's no H. It's the key point, right? And if it's a vowel, we're talking about na heimshra in the case of weather. Na heimshra. Okay. So you get a H on it, on goes to na. So that's the H riv. Here's the nothing in for the consonant. Here's the H for the far, and here again is the nothing with the gutta. All right. So hopefully those rules show you between Tuiseal Amnuk, Tuiseal Ginideach, what's actually going on. It's almost like a role reversal once you get to Tuiseal Ginideach. That's a good way of looking at a crossover. All right, let's get into it. So, right now, these notes are detailed, but they're the first part of an extensive lesson. This is the first part of it. There are at least 2, if not 3 other lessons we need to do on this. Okay. Bottom line is, tá sé chos den Tuiseal Ginideach. There are 6 situations where the Tuiseal Ginideach exists. Now, if you're at yesterday's lesson, you can go back on it and you'll see that I gave 6 simple things for people to learn. Now, I'm not going to embarrass anyone and say, can you remember them all? But tá sé chos den Tuiseal Ginideach. First one. Being animachus a Tuiseal Ginideach in need na révocha simply. So after simple prepositions, you have an animacle in the Tuiseal Ginideach. Now I'm going to take an example of each. The first one is timple, and we all know the phrase timple on tea. Now, what does this work out as? Chalk is a masculine phrase. We saw that earlier. Chalk im in sleeve. Rule number 1, on remains as on. Rule number 2, nothing happens with a D or T at the start of them, so nothing is there. And the last one was EACH, in this case, went to I fada as a change, right? So that's step number 3, came at 3. If you look at phrases like trasna, you'd know trasna, or should know trasna, right? And here it's trasna na porca. What has happened here? Pork. The word pork is a feminine phrase. So step number 1, on went to na. Step number 2, on fork, it lost the H. Step number 3, it's already slender in the middle. And step number 4, an E was added. Trasna na porca. If I take another one, the phrase chun is like going to something, right? Chun an énig. So here we've got came a hain, first step. On tenoch is the phrase. It's masculine. 1, on remains as on. 2, it loses the T hyphen. And 3, very simply, ACH goes to AIGH. Okay, and again, that's a standard change. Right? AICH or ACH goes to AIGH. It's a standard change. All right. Yeah, that's why it's Timple Natira. Very good. So hopefully that's the aha moment for a lot of people. That's why it's Timple Natira. Trasna na Dunta. Timple na Porca. Timple na Scolia, you'd know. You could probably list 10 or 15 phrases you know right now, all of a sudden, because hold on, now I know why it's in the Tuiseal Ginideach, or I know what's happened. So I'm hoping that's a eureka moment for a lot of people when we see Timple on T. Alright? Inig na révocha cóhitse. I don't need to go through every single one of them right now, but we can come back to them. Inig na révocha cóhitse. Now this important phrase, it's after a conjugated preposition. Now the easy thing about this is there's always gachuid, there's 2 parts, right? So tá gachuid sa révocha. This kind of preposition is always 2 parts of it. Right, Treish is the one that you all know best, right? So if you said after the dinner, it'd be Treish on dinner. But fag misa or fag shachtana, any of those, dead straightforward to understand. But we'll go for an easy one that we saw earlier, Oskion, which is above. Oskion and Durish. What happened here? On, it's masculine, Duris. On remains is on. Can't put anything on the start because D or a T, and you slender it out. Dead easy, right? Oskor natina. Natina, obviously tina is a feminine phrase, that's why it's na, right? An gaeliter, Tuiseal Ginideach, Goni, Or hampla trasan. Yeah, Moss Fader Sheila. Do you slender or slenderize the Tuiseal French go? That's the key rule from an K declension. First declension, you always try to slender it. That's the basic rule. First declension we try to remember by the letter I. Okay, so that answers that one for you. Okay, K Caunella. If two nouns come together, this is the easiest one to identify because it's simply two nouns coming together. What's the one that you probably know best here? I would say Laura Kyoil, right? So you don't have on in the middle of these. What you have is you have the declension change. So very simply, we can see it's slendered out, and that is the first declension, right? We just put an I on it. It's masculine. Again, Bod Shoil, you can see Shoal and Kyoil have the same properties, haven't they? So EOL, masculine, guaranteed. EOL goes to EOIL. Very simple, just slendered out. Next one. And be careful, EOIL is a different thing. In Yigan Adam Vrihra, after verbal noun. Well, what's a verbal noun? Basically, egg. Do you see all these? Ig Danav, ig Rint, ig Brisha, ig Uskalt. So we had Duris there earlier. Opening the door is ig Uskalt on Durish. Here we have a couple of simple ones. One I want you all to know is very, very, very important. Ig Danav Nahibra. So we can see now that doing the work will no longer, if you wrote down a declension, Lily, is a grouping of words with similar properties. I wrote it down earlier in the lesson. A declension is a grouping of words with similar properties, i.e. the end of them are similar. Things like og, eog, o for the g, erdog, fuinog, they are all in the second declension. They have the same endings. So a Danav Nahibra would be doing the work. Very simply, it's a feminine noun, uber, on uber, think about it. On uber walya, yeah, easy to think of that. On uber, on changes na because it's feminine. It needs to get a H because of the vowel, so that's step number 2. It's already slender and we add an E. So we're beginning hopefully to build our knowledge of how this could be. Closing the window, closing, easy to identify. On changes to na. We drop the H. On inog becomes nafwinoiga. You slender it out, step 3, and we add an E, step 4, kemakar. Right? So at this stage, guys, you should probably be getting this idea. Shelev, possession, where something belongs to someone. Chak an tagart, there was a reference earlier to the S. So the word is sagart, it's masculine, on sagart. Chak an tagart, on remains as on, that's step number 1. But the T before the S is like a H for any other letter. So it's as if S has its own special property. It doesn't take a H, it gets a T before it. Sagart, and what you do is you slender it out. So step number 1, step number 2, step number 3 is we slender it out. And tagart, right? Chak and tagart. Shop on here, we saw far already. And then the final one after the following. I think the easiest one to go with here is alon or an lar arrogate, a lot of money or a great amount of money. So if we said alon ama actually might be a better one, niasmo ama. So if you see these two here at the bottom, these are ones I think they're easiest to remember. I refer to this very often as kaniat, quantity, and I try to, so far as is humanly possible, get people to remember alon arrogate. What happened here? Very simply, it dropped anything that was before it. EA went to I, but there's no on involved. So EA goes to I, nismo ama, more of time. And then the last one, that's the last couple summarized in that. Oh yeah, I know what I did wrong there. Yeah, sorry, they're summarized in that. So the two charts are actually back to front there in the notes. There's both charts that I've gone through, or all the charts I've gone through, summarized with examples, and again you can come back and take a look at them. Now, a little bit of work for you. Could you, ahead of tomorrow's lesson, hopefully those of you who are going to be in, at our fault wrote, Lily, could you take these 10 phrases, Ordog, Orkland, Ifguk, Ein, Asel, and put them into a sentence, Albert, Satisha, Ginideach, right? So, simple sentence. but include on. So that means include on talc kinta. Include the definite article. It obviously is going to be on or na, depending on whether it's masculine or feminine. And see, could you make some changes based on what we've done so far? So the next time we come back to the grammar, we'll take a look at this. But tomorrow, I'll just ask you if you have your answers, you could have them maybe typed out in a Word file or something like that. You could just paste them in quickly and let's just see what people come up with. So any noun at all, urdog, we've seen already, Arklan, Ifiguk, Ain, we've seen all these phrases through the lesson. Could you come up with a sentence including those phrases in the tissue Ginideach? Okay, now guys, it took a small bit longer than I was hoping it would do to get through. There's a lot in that. You'll need to go back over this, there's no question, and feel free to do so. It'll be available as a playback on YouTube for a while anyway, and you'll be able to go through the lesson and do what's needed. Don't forget, if you click down below, you can get the notes so you can work on them in each and every one of the lessons, and courses at Leavingcertirish.com. So any support you can give us there, I'd appreciate. And obviously tell people about this, pass the word around that this is live every day. We're not going away, we're staying here, we're going to see this thing through, and hopefully Suladia or Lacuna Day, whichever you want to go with. I've helped you a bit today. I'd love to get some feedback from you. If you'd send me some kind of an email, admin@Leavingcertirish.com, what you think of what we're doing, do you like it, etc, etc. Obviously we've a mix of subscribers and non-subscribers in some of these live classes, so I'm getting feedback from subscribers currently, but non-subscribers I've less idea whether or not this is kind of fulfilling your needs. Someone sent a question yesterday, I actually don't know was it a student in the class or not, about Cain Fall nach Laurit or Nis Mogwegas na Rang na Show. Based on many years of feedback from doing this, the vast majority of people who come in here are looking for problems to be solved, as opposed to looking for what we call Tuiseal, which is kind of immersion education. So if anyone's offended by me not using Nis Mogwega, that's fine, I can do that, but unfortunately people come into this class for a specific reason. It's that they're lost and they need some explanations in their mother tongue. And if it was a case that we were doing Cursi Béal Tríoch, it'd be different because you'd be speaking Irish most of the time and I'd have students engaging in a different way. But that just maybe in case anyone has any issues around that. Alright, so Shine, Bimid Rasha Morok, Keshe, very important notes on this tomorrow. Again, you can go to course.leavingcertirish.com and get the notes from 11 o'clock each day before the sessions. Hopefully we've helped you out a bit today, and I know we've gone over a little bit in time, but it's a huge lesson and we've gone through a lot. So Sula dia Dolam Shiv Rode again. So Gurmil Magriv Feke Me Worship Agus Bemidan Shot Egg Monday Mars Ganach Agus Tomak Sulgamor Leshin Turara Need Dalova or Nigi Vorlov, if we want to go with the plural of it, Agus Togo Bugge. Gurmil Magriv Son Tomaling.